I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts, the person. I am not a believer that Jalen Hurts is a guy who can get me to be playing a game in 10 days. So, no, I don't believe the arm's there, Dan. And that's the thing is that everything that I love about Jalen Hurts, the intangibles, when you lead with the intangibles on somebody, to me, they're probably not ready to hold that job.
Welcome back, National Football League. Big Stills. Yeah, guys, I think everyone needs to pump the brakes a little bit on this Flores story and let it breathe a little bit. Okay? You're talking about throwing games. You're talking about hiring practices. I want answers. That's it. You know, nowadays in society, we're so quick to want to be first instead of right. You know, when I got into this business 30 years ago, you would have to stand in front of your program director if you got anything wrong. And a guy who kind of started the same time I did, and he's one of my friends. And boy, I'll tell you something. I love John Kincade. I always have. I love his work. He was a friend of mine. We had one of the best times in the world in Atlanta. And it was just wonderful. And to see that he's now the morning drive host on the Fanatic in Philadelphia. I know he did work prior to getting down to Atlanta, working around the Philadelphia Flyers. It's great to see you, John. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you live like a vampire because I did morning drive for like 30 years, and it's tough to be able to stay awake, but thank you for doing this, brother.
Dan, I got a problem with you before we start.
Tell me.
Why the hell did you not warn me when I took a morning drive job after doing afternoons my entire career?
You live like a vampire.
Where the hell was your guidance? Where were you looking out for me? Talk about wanting answers. I wanted answers then. You didn't pick up the phone. You didn't warn me.
Dude.
Seriously.
I go to bed at 9. I used to go to bed at 9 o'clock like I was 10 years old. Like for 20 some odd years. Are you enjoying doing the mornings? Because you did afternoons forever.
Dan, what I got to tell you is I'm enjoying being in Philadelphia.
Great.
I'm enjoying being home. Even though I'm like right now, I'm out on my cousin's back porch. We're getting ready to get down to the Sixers game. There's around 5 inches of snow on the ground that hasn't melted yet. It's a nice sort of balmy 38 degrees this afternoon in Philly. It's a lot different than living in Atlanta, but to be home is a great joy. To wake up every day and to talk about the Eagles, talk about the Sixers, talk about my hometown teams, reunite with people that I haven't seen since high school and college that I've been gone because I was 25 years in Atlanta. So, and the time was never right to come home. God bless it. It is a pleasure being home, but it's quite an adjustment. It really is. It's quite an adjustment. And doing mornings, you know, screw you, Sileo. You could have told me. I could have asked for an extra 25 grand or something. Seriously, between you, Tony Bruno, and everybody else, where the hell were you when I needed you? Wait till that second contract. Wait, that's all I say. Wait till the second contract.
You tell Joe Bell, man, I want wake-up money.
I know we have a friend in common in Joe Bell. He'd want me to say hello.
Absolutely. I got to start out with the Eagles. You mentioned them. Are you a believer in Jalen Hurts?
I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts, the person. I am not a believer that Jalen Hurts is a guy who can get me to be playing a game in 10 days. So, no, I don't believe the arm's there, Dan. And that's the thing is that everything that I love about Jalen Hurts, the intangibles, when you lead with the intangibles on somebody, to me, they're probably not ready to hold that job. And when someone talks about when I hear somebody say, well, what about this guy for this job in this market or someone, do you know him? If I have to lead with, he's a really nice guy or something, the intangibles. Oh, he's really good with people. Is he really good on the freaking radio? Does he have an arm? Is he able to hit open receivers in space or in tight circles? I don't believe that Jalen Hurts is that guy. I've seen 22 or 23 starts. I think I've seen enough to know that the arm is not there. And I don't believe that the arm in your mid-20s is what's going to improve. I think you've got that arm, but everything else about Jalen Hurts I love. But I believe if the Eagles want to take it to the next level, they're going to have to go there with another quarterback.
John, what changed my opinion, and you're dead on, if you have to say this, we can win with him, that means you don't have the right guy. And I'll tell you, what changed it for me was, don't tell me you have to have a Super Bowl roster around Jalen Hurts to win a Super Bowl, because I'm watching a dude in 10 days, and Joe Burrow, take the shittiest offensive line to that game.
It's terrible.
I know he's got great skilled weapons, but that O-line, he was sacked 9 times by the Titans. So when I watch the guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr, it just makes me go, look, I say that about Dak Prescott now too. That guy's not going to lead that football team to a Super Bowl. You have to have one of those guys. Are you a big proponent, or are you a fan of doing this? If everything comes out, and I say this about Deshaun Watson, John, he was on the active roster the entire year. He was paid. He was not suspended.
Sure.
These are not any – where's the district attorney in Houston? If this guy's got 22 alleged sexual assaults, he would be a menace to society. If it's okay with the league, the Texans, do you push your chips in and say, if you're Howie Roseman, I'm going to push everything I can in to try to get Deshaun Watson?
Dan, what I can tell you is the Philadelphia Eagles brag often about being the organization that is very forward thinking. They're very modern, and they have 6 female executives, more than any team in the NFL. You tell me that you're going to be able to sell that story with Deshaun Watson. And look, I understand the whole thing of Deshaun Watson. There have been no criminal charges, anything like that. For many, many years, there were just assertions made against a lot of guys. I consider his behavior to be, at the very least, something that I don't want to have to discuss, and I don't want to have to answer for as an organization. So though he is extremely talented, I don't know that unless every single thing was remediated, that I would even be able to consider Deshaun Watson. But I believe the price is dropping, because when you hear that the Giants come out and say, we're not interested in him, there's a desperate man in Carolina in Matt Rule who might want to push his chips in the center of the table, because he was almost fired after year 2. I don't believe that Nick Sirianni feels that desperation yet. And I do believe that the target of the Philadelphia Eagles has been and always will be a man in Seattle, and seeing if they can pry Russell Wilson away from the Seahawks.
Let's do this then. Howie Roseman will have 3 number 1 draft choices, 11 total picks, not counting the compensation picks that will come in here. They may trade Fletcher Cox to someone to get another big first rounder, absorb some of the money, kind of like they did with Carson Wentz. Are you a believer that he can build this football team? Because I say this to you, John, look at what Brady did. He calls it a career. Look at the NFC. Let's just say, hypothetically, Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver. It's wide open. You have Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott. You have a chance to build this football team, this Eagle team, into being something pretty special here with all these picks and $30 million under the cap. Do you trust Howie to get this team and keep it on the rails going in the right direction to be a Super Bowl contender?
Well, I know that, a Super Bowl contender, I've seen Howie Roseman do that enough that I absolutely believe he can do that. There's no question in my mind he can have them into that. Is he going to want to make, I'm really anxious with the bold move. He's got 3 number 1 picks. Dan, I'm here to tell you, there is no way in my mind that he is going to use 3 number 1 picks this year. I think he's going to use 2 of them. I think he's going to flip one, so he has 2 number 1 picks next year. So I think he's going to find a team that's thirsty for one of those picks and maybe use it to trade back, maybe pick up a second this year and a first next year from somebody, because he's always looking to gain that draft capital. He just isn't as good at certain positions drafting. If you tell me that the Eagles are going to find offensive linemen, I totally believe in Howie Roseman. I absolutely believe it. If you tell me he has to find a wide receiver, he found Devontae Smith, but that was that's one of the earliest picks in the draft. When you get into those teens and late teens and 20s, which is where the Eagles were drafting, he kept missing on the first rounders many times, and then he was hitting on third rounders and fourth rounders. I mean, it's interesting. I'm a believer in Howie in some ways. He is a master at the cap. He may be the best. He may be the best guy in the NFL at managing a salary cap. So he gets too disrespected in my hometown. I will tell you that. I'm not a Howie detractor, but when it comes to wondering if he's going to be able to build a team through the draft, I have distinct questions. He needs a little bit. My man Les Snead with the Rams. Les was an intern with the Falcons. When I started my radio show back in 2000, he was interning with the Falcons. And I watched him grow up through that organization. I'm so proud of Les and watching him, what he's doing. But when they were moving to LA, Stan Kroenke literally, I'm sure, said, hey, we need star quality. We need you to, we need to get people into the seats, and we need to find ways to do it. They didn't do a great job of it the other night, by the way. So they went all in on building the roster and supplementing it with known commodities. I wouldn't put that past Howie Roseman. Trying to put together a team that's sort of more built of veterans and using some of that draft capital to go and do things like that. But I can't wait for the draft. We're going to Vegas for it. We're bringing the show out there, and we'll do the show at 3 a.m. from Las Vegas. And we had a blast going out there this year when the Eagles played the Raiders. And at that point, they were 2-5, Dan, and they were in the crapper. They turned the season around, made the postseason. I can't wait to see what happens next year.
Absolutely.
And this whole draft process, it's going to be the most interesting offseason in Eagles history. And I think they have $47 million or something like that to play with. So.
Absolutely. Couple last questions here for you, John. And that leads me to Ciriani, too, because like you said, at 2-5. I mean,
is he related to you, by the way? He has a vowel.
What's that? No, hey, look, I tell people this. If you got a vowel in your name, I don't care if you're Sammy Sosa or Moses Malone. You're related to Big Sills because you have a vowel in your name. So we're all related. And, of course, Frank Wright, who's my boy, set me up with him. And he goes, Sills, I'm coming on. I know I'm going to keep my Paisan love affair with you here. So he's coming on here in a couple days as well here. But that leads me to him, John. I mean, here he is at 2-5, questioning, not running the football. What I loved about him at the beginning of the year, he just went like this. All right, I'm going to listen to my guys. Fletcher Cox starts barking. I'm not understanding what they're asking us to do over here with Jonathan Gannon on this side of the ball. From the beginning of the year, who would have told me that you would have thought Nick Sirianni would have been a better coach than what Urban Meyer would have been in the hiring process? And look what happened to him. But by the end of the year, gets the team into the postseason and really changed the fortunes of the team around. One of the better teams in the second half of the season. How do you see Nick?
Dan, I'm going to give you the biggest compliment that I can give Nick Sirianni. Is the fact that when he comes in that building and nobody the hell knows his name around the city of Philadelphia, everybody go to Google, when you found out he was one of the finalists, is for him to have gotten that many grown men, veterans, Super Bowl champions to coalesce behind him, support him, understand him, and believe in him. Dan, I always put it this way. If the guys in the locker room are buying into the coach, who the hell am I to be behind a microphone going, this guy's a buffoon, he's an idiot? Because they know more than me. They watched him work. And one thing I think they saw is they saw a guy with great energy, great bonding skills with his roster. And I think the sky's the limit for Nick Sirianni. Now, I do believe that the bar of expectation is higher in year 2 because of the fact that they made the playoffs in year 1. So I think that's going to be a little bit of an issue for him because, sometimes teams take a little step back in a building process and it's Philly. They don't like that. But Nick Sirianni won me over with not only his enthusiasm, but the fact is when I hear all the veterans sing his praises and carry the water for him and his message, Dan, that tells me all I need to know. You've been in those locker rooms. I haven't. I go in as a visitor. You've been in them. And when when a young guy with really not a ton of a reputation gets the veterans all behind him, like Zach Ertz and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, that's all I need to know. That's good enough for me to believe in what's got going on.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're heading down to Wells Fargo to see the Sixers. All right, let me throw this at you here in closing here. Ben Simmons, okay? I mean, obviously, that's been a storyline. There's been some sort of conversation going around. Daryl Morey, both you and I know who he is. Did a great job at times in Houston. Now he's got to try to move this around. There were deals on the table with some teams. How do you think this thing plays out with the Sixers and Simmons?
I think it plays out that he's traded in the offseason. I do not believe he's ever going to play a game for the Sixers again, even though the Sixers would welcome it. And the Sixers would welcome him back, Dan, anytime he wanted to come back and play, because I feel that they think it would only help their investment. I believe the deal will go down in the offseason. If there's tampering going on between James Harden and his old friend Daryl Morey, God bless it. I'm all.
Now you're talking Italian to me. See, Kincade, you got an E on your name. Now you're talking like a good backroom Italian here.
Dan, my uncle's founded the Italian American Club around 3 miles from where I'm standing.
Salute.
None of my uncles were Italian. So you might want to wonder what goes on in the Italian American Club. And none of them were Italian. So I always felt like there was a kinship with the Italians. But I'm going to tell you this, is that I'm a believer. I'm a big believer. The Sixers could go into the top spot in the East tonight with a win without Ben Simmons. That is an indictment on the deficiencies in his game. And it's a big statement on what Joel Embiid's doing. He's the MVP. Don't talk about anybody else. He's the MVP. And he's the guy you would have liked to have suited up against.
I love the kid, man. I think that guy is just killing it right now. The kid in Memphis is killing it as well. But
it's awesome. We saw him on Monday. He plays with an Iverson-like enthusiasm. That John Morant, he is worth the price of admission, man. He is so good. But I'm glad to see you doing your thing, man. It's good to get a chance to catch up with you. Tell Nick Ciriani he's got we've been asking for him to come on with us now. He's got a relationship with the other station. We're kind. We're generous.
John, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. I may not ask you but one day for a favor. It may come back.
Oh, I know it'll come back.
Right on. Hey, John, have a great night tonight, brother. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Ed. Anytime, buddy.
You got it. That's my friend John Kincade from the Sports Fanatic. Absolutely, man. Yeah, no question about it. All good. All right. Hit the like button. I've got a list of Big Sil sleepers. No, this is not Italian. Okay? I'm not putting anybody to sleep. It's sleepers in the draft. Okay? Something you'll never hear anywhere else. Big Sil's did some homework for you. Keep it right here on the National Football.